Hello and welcome to week 3. This week we are going to be focusing on breath work. So continuing to integrate our myofascial release, our corrective exercise, and various meditation techniques, we're going to add in a layer of breath work. Why, you might ask? Great question. So breath work is incredibly important. First and foremost, breathing gives life. Breathing, I would say, is on the same level of importance when it comes to our basic needs as water and food and shelter. And shelter is probably even less necessary than breath and water, right? And so, breathing is mildly important. When was the last time that you feel like you've had a really good breath? Right? Whether that's, just like a nice deep inhale, exhale, whether that's, maybe you struggle with respiratory issues and, you feel like you can never breathe through your nose, or you have allergies or whatever, it's not an uncommon story for humans to have bad breathing habits. And let me tell you something, it's not your fault. James Nestor, in his book titled Breath, or Breathe, he does a really beautiful job of narrating his experience going through a study with a scientist where they manipulate ways of breathing and then study biometric markers. Now, I encourage you to read the book. You're going to actually be receiving a PDF of an index of some of the breath exercises from the book. That's at the very end of the book. But the story itself is really interesting to hear. And one of the things that he talks about at the very beginning is actually how we as human beings have devolved. Our respiratory systems have devolved, right? So as we evolved, we found fire and tools, and basically what ended up happening is our food softened, our jaws got weaker, our faces got longer, our arches got taller, and we lost space in our respiratory cavity and our sinuses. And what that did was it made it so that we became more mouth breathers than nose breathers. And that's a problem because our noses are meant to take in the oxygen. There's little hairs in there that, regulate the temperature of the breath as it enters the lungs. It helps, bringing more oxygen through the nose is going to help clear out any bacteria that's getting stuck in the sinuses. It keeps our mouth, our gum health and our mouth health better because when we're breathing through our mouths, we're drying it out. We're bringing in all sorts of nasty bacteria and things. So just overall, our health would be much better if we all learned how to breathe better. It's crazy. Now, this is a very passionate topic for me because I have dealt with sinusitis and chronic bronchitis and chronic hay fever, and I literally could never breathe through my nose for most of my life. And so this is one of the sections of this course that I find so important, not only because our general health, our immune system, our respiratory system, our cardiovascular system, our digestive system, our nervous systems, our lymphatic systems, literally all of the systems in our body can be strengthened by learning about how to breathe, by learning breath work. One of the things that Jay Shetty talks about in his experience becoming a monk is that when he joined the monastery, the very first thing they taught him to do was how to breathe. Right? We do not teach our children how to breathe anymore, okay? We are all mouth breathers and it's terrible. So we're going to go over a couple of different breathwork exercises in this course. It's going to be a very basic introduction, and I want you to approach it with an openness, not only in your heart, but also in your lungs. It's not going to be comfortable. It's going to feel a little weird. It might be really challenging mentally. And I hope that you can sit with this discomfort as you move through the exercises. So breath work is an active meditation. right? It is the act of bringing our attention to how we breathe. And that can be done in a silent manner, that can be done in a counting manner, that can be done with alongside music, in exercise. Often it's done in exercise. You've already gotten some experience of that when doing our abdomen vacuums, right? So there's many different avenues that you can take when it comes to breath work. Most of what I will be teaching is going to be mainly focused through the pranayama lens, meaning that it is rooted in a yogic training. However, there's so many other methods like shamanic breathwork, holotropic breathwork, Wim Hof has become very popular. The list goes on. And I encourage you to explore them all to find which one suits you best. With that said, let's get started on a few breathwork exercises. Before we begin, I do want to come into a bit of a warning, okay, or a disclaimer, okay? We don't want to feel any sharpshooting pain. We don't want to be pushing ourselves past our limit. So again, make sure you're listening to your body and checking in with yourself as you do this practice. Take breaks when you need to, drink water when you need to, honor yourself before the practice, right? That's part of what we're learning here in this 4-week course. The other thing is that sometimes when we do some of these breath works, we might start to feel a little lightheaded. We might start to feel a little tingly in the hands and in the fingers. Maybe we get a little dizzy. We will probably definitely feel a full body activation in some of the exercises. All of this is perfectly okay and normal, and I encourage you to show up to it with curiosity and acceptance. Even if you come out of it and you're like, that wasn't for me, at least now you know, right? And instead of being like, that wasn't for me and I hate it, I'm going to tell everybody not to do it, let's try and veer away from that. Because you never know. Maybe 2 years down the line, you'll be like, oh, I remember I took this course and this chick had me doing breath work, and now, my doctor is recommending it to me to help regulate my nervous system, right? So there's so many different avenues and ways that our life comes together and falls apart. And I hope that when it comes to this practice of breath work, you can utilize this tool as often as you need to, and because it is super beneficial in so many different aspects. And also, if it's just a tool that sits in your toolbox that you never use, that's okay, but at least you have it in your toolbox. Because you never know, maybe one day there will be a problem and you'll want to use it. All right, so let's get started.